Good evening, good evening, good evening, my brothers and sisters. How are you doing this beautiful evening? Your brother Tony M. Toomer is at the dining room table. He's ready to serve you up some food. So come on in, my brothers and sisters. I hope that you had a long, fulfilling weekend and a good holiday today. And it's about time for us to get back to reality because starting tomorrow, the holiday will be over. My brother and sister, if you don't mind, would you go ahead and invite some more family members and friends to the dinner table? They may want to get in on this particular feast that we're going to have tonight at the dinner table. If this is your first time at the dinner table, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Tony M. Toomer, and I speak on relationships. When I speak on relationships, my brother and sister, I clearly come from a position of a man and a woman. And to be more detailed and specific, I strongly believe in the concept of a relationship between a man and a woman. When you look at the book of Genesis, God had a unique relationship with the man Adam. Secondly, he had a unique relationship with the woman Eve. Thirdly, he represented the woman to the man. And in the presence of God, in reference to Eve, Adam said, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, I should call a woman because she came from man. That's the position that I come from. Now, if you have another alternative view of a relationship, you have what is called a free will. You can do whatever you choose to do. But if you sit at the dinner table, I talk basically about the relationship between a man and a woman from a biblical standpoint, going all the way back to the book of Genesis. And I would also like for you, brothers and sisters, to know that I'm on basically two different platforms. I'm on the book and I'm on the tube. Those of you that are on the tube, I may make some comments to those that are on the book. I will call out their name and their comments because you can't see them. And vice versa, those of you on the book, I may make a reference to those that are on the tube. You cannot see their name or comments, but I will call out their name and comments. We're all family here, okay? And go ahead and share this, my brothers, sisters, especially those of you on the tube, and also hit that notification so when I have another dinner table appointment, you can come in, okay? With that said, let's look at the topic that we're going to discuss tonight at the dinner table. It is it right or wrong for a man and woman to have oral sex? That's what we're going to talk about at the dinner table tonight. If you have some young ones, my brother and sister, my advice to you is to somewhat, take care of them. So because this is really adult content. How you doing, Sister Cynthia Poem? Welcome to the dinner table. So come on in, my brother and sister. Be very, make sure your children are not in, and listening at the dinner table. We'll let them feast on something else at another time. But tonight, how you doing, mother? Welcome to the dinner table. Tonight's topic again. Is it right or wrong for a man or woman to have oral sex? Now, does God, listen to this, my brother and sister, does God word address oral sex? Let's look at this first. Does God word address oral sex? And if so, is it a sin or not? And that's what we're discussing at the dinner table. Is it right or wrong for a man or woman to have oral sex? Now, oral sex, let's define it. I know we got different concepts of what oral sex is, but let's look in the dictionary. I'm going to read to you what the dictionary said about oral sex. Oral sex, my brother and sister, is defined as sexually activity involving the stimulation of the genitalia of a person by another person using the mouth. That includes the lips, tongue, teeth, and the throat. And to tell you the truth, my brother and sister, before we really get into it, it's not actually identified or discussed in God's word. Oral sex is not actually per se addressed in God's word. How you doing, Sister Jane? Welcome to the dinner table. Now, according to this article in Sex and Psychology, Justin Miller, he did research on this particular topic. And the research that he did, it was called, Do Men and Women Find Giving and Receiving Oral Sex Equally Pleasurable? Let me read to you what Justin came up with. When it came to receiving oral sex, men and women didn't really differ in the rating or pleasurability. Specifically, 97.1% of men and 95.4% of women said that receiving oral sex was at least somewhat or very pleasurable. This means, my brother and sister, that just 2.9 of men and 4.6 of women did not find it pleasurable to be oral stimulated. Okay. Now, he went on to say this. However, there is a gender difference when it comes to pleasurability of giving oral sex, whereby 92.9% of men said that giving oral sex was somewhat or very pleasurable, and the corresponding number for women was 82.7%. This means that 7.1% of men and 17.3% of women didn't find it pleasurable to perform oral stimulation. Women, my brother, and women, my sister, get more pleasure from giving oral sex when the act is given back to them, reciprocated. Okay, again, women get more pleasure from giving oral sex when the act is given to them or reciprocated. However, women were more likely than men to report that oral sex was not given to them as much as men gave it back to them. Okay. So maybe it's the lower odds or reciprocation that explain why women find giving oral sex to be less pleasurable than men. Okay. Hold on. Now, somebody was trying to call me when I was doing my show. I'm sorry. How you doing? Sister Cheryl Ferguson. How you doing? Now, again, is it right or wrong for a man or woman to give oral sex? In the book of Leviticus, my brothers and sisters, when you look at Leviticus chapter 11, Leviticus chapter 11, when you go back to the Old Testament, in chapter 11, there were a list of forbidden acts of sex that one doesn't cross the boundaries of. However, oral sex, my brother, and oral sex, my sister, doesn't appear to be one of them. When you go back again to Leviticus 11, it had all type of sexual acts on what you couldn't do, and the act itself, and who you do not do it with. And oral sex doesn't appear to be one of them. But again, is it right or wrong for a man or woman to have oral sex? I know you are looking for a yes or no. I'm going to give it to you shortly, so just hold on. I'm going to give it to you shortly. Now, when we go to the book of Proverbs 5, that's chapter 5, 18 through 19. Proverbs 5, 18 through 19. Proverbs 5, 18 through 19. Listen to what King Solomon said. Let her be as a loving hind and pleasurable robe. Let her breast satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her in love. Now, what does that passage mean? I'm going to read it to you again. King Solomon wrote this in the book of Proverbs 5, chapter 5, 18, 19. It said, let her be the loving hind and pleasure robe. That's like a deer. Let her breast satisfy thee at all time, and be thou ravished also with her in love. Now, what does that passage actually mean, my brother? So it means that a married man, how you doing, Sister Fountain? Work to the dinner table. It means that a married man should enjoy. It means that a married man should be satisfied. It means that a married man should be content and with his wide breast, along with the rest of her body, and her with him. He should express love to her, and she should express love to him. Because no man or no woman cannot make love. They can make cakes, but you cannot make love. You can express love. Now, let's go down to another book. It's the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 7, that's verse 2 through 5. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, 2 through 5. 1 Corinthians 7, 2 through 5. It say, and I know y'all waiting for me to say yes or no. Just hold on. I'm going to get to it, but I'm giving you a little appetizer now. The husband should fulfill his wife's sexual need. This is what the Bible saying now, because Paul addressed this. It say the husband should fulfill his wife's sexual needs, and the wife should fulfill her husband's need. The wife gives authority over her body to her husband, and the husband give authority over his body to his wife. Do not deprive each other of sexual relationship unless you both agree to refrain from sexual intimacy for a limited time so that you can give yourself more completely to prayer. Afterwards, you should come together again so that Satan won't be able to tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Now, when you look at 1 Corinthians chapter 7, 2 through 5, it's showing that a husband, you should fulfill your wife's sexual needs. It also goes on to say that a wife should fulfill her husband's need. It also shows that, sisters, your body, once you say I do, your body is not your body anymore. Your body was your body before you said I do. And also, you brothers, when you said I do, your body is not your body anymore. It's your wife's body. So where am I going with this? Is it right or wrong for a man or a woman to have oral sex with his or her mate? Any kind of sex, now listen to this very carefully, my brother and sister. Any kind of sex between a man and a woman is directly prohibited before marriage. Okay? So, my brother and sister, what it's saying, if you are not married, you are prohibited, first of all, for any type of sex. Now, I'm guilty of that, my brother and sister, because I've been out there quite a bit, and I was wilding out a long time ago before I got married, many times. I violated this law many times. Like some of you brothers and sisters right now, you single brothers and sisters, a lot of you have violated this rule about any type of sexual activity before marriage. Some of you brothers and sisters right now, you're not married, and you don't supposed to be having sex anyway. Like when I was not married, I was not supposed to be having sexual relationship, even though I have plenty of time, and I was guilty when I was not married, but I'm guilty. And I admit it, I did wrong. I transgressed God's law. Like a lot of you brothers and sisters, you transgressed God's law sometime last week, maybe this weekend, the holiday weekend, probably sometime next week, you're going to violate God's law, which goes back to, is it right or wrong for a man or woman to have oral sex? Now, listen to this very carefully. If a man and a woman is married, this is the key thing. Because if you understand it, my brother and sister, it say in Hebrews 13:4, Hebrews 13:4, it said, marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. What this basically means, my brother and sister, is from God's point of view, not the world point of view, but from God's point of view, he views sex between a man and a woman should only be permissible if they are married. So it's nothing wrong, my brother, and there's nothing wrong, my sister, when it comes to sex, but it is the position that you're in. Are you married or are you not married? According to the world, it's wide open. The world got different opinions on it. God don't have no opinion on it. God have a standard. Since God is the one, my brothers and sisters, that created sex. Now, sex, you brothers and sisters, and you all know, sex is a beautiful thing. There's nothing wrong with sex. Sex is not nasty. A lot of people, when you talk about sex, they don't want to talk about it, but they make it seem like it's a dirty word, it's a taboo. But God created sex, my brother and sister, to reproduce between a man and a woman, and he also created sex to help a man and woman to bond closer together. The reason why God do not want a man and woman to have sex outside of marriage, because sex is more than just the exchange of body fluids, my brother and sister. Now, some people, you play with sex. You don't play with sex. I have done it in my past, but you don't play with sex. I did wrong. Like a lot of you brothers and sisters, you did wrong. Some of you all still doing wrong. You don't play with sex. Sex is a serious thing, my brothers and sisters, because sex involves not only your bodies, my brothers and sisters, it involves your spirit, it involves your soul, your mind, your will, and your emotion, and your body. If you have sex with someone outside of God or boundaries, you could end up with problems. Some people, they really more concerned with whether or not they're going to get pregnant or they're going to get a disease, which is, I mean, it is something to think about. Whether you're going to have a child out of wedlock or you're going to get some type of disease that they ain't even got no cure for. But it's deeper than that, my brother and sister. A woman may not get pregnant out of it. Or you, brother, or you, sister, may not get no type of physical disease by having sex. However, it's deeper than your body. It goes onto the inside. Now, your inside is your soul and your spirit. Let's talk about the spirit. A man and a woman, you either going to have the spirit of the Lord in you, or you going to have the spirit of the devil in you. You got to understand this principle first. On the pastor writing, sir, do you think it's okay to kiss a woman before marriage? I don't think kissing is a sexual act, but I want your opinion. Okay. I'll answer that. Now, let me go ahead and answer on the pastor writing it. It said, do you think it's okay to kiss a woman before marriage? I don't think it's a sexual act, but I want your opinion. Okay, a sexual act. When a man and a woman kiss, there's a possibility when a man and woman start kissing, it could be like putting a key into a car and turning on the motor. Most of the time when a man and woman kiss, it kicks something in motion called a man and woman. A man got a desire for a woman, and a woman have a desire for a man. If you kiss, there's a strong possibility that it's going to lead to other things. What do I mean? Normally, when a man and woman start kissing, if they're isolated, it's going to move beyond the lips. It's going to move beyond the lips to lips. You're going to see somebody start kissing the cheek, the neck, the shoulders, the breast, the chest, the stomach, the thighs, the calves, the toes, the fingers, the genital area, even the backside. That's right. Some people go all the way to the backside of it. So if you start kissing, I want you to know there's a possibility that that physical hunger going to come up, and there's a possibility that you're going to start lusting. And when you start lusting, you're going to want to engage in more closeness than you did before you kiss. I hope that answered your question, but that's something dangerous, because if you kiss when you isolated, most of the time something gonna go down if you isolate it. Because most of the time in a situation like that, Most men, once they start kissing and everything, most men, they get charged up real quick, and most men want to finish it off. Whereas a woman, she might be kissing, but she may start feeling those things. But a woman, she might say, you know, she might want to pull back. She may want to go ahead and do more, and then she wants to pull back. And it could get real intensified, whereas a woman may feel that a man is taking her body from her, because it could get to that kind of stuff. So that's a sticky subject. Thank you on the past rights, and that's a good question. And then you brother and sister, if you have any question or comment, go ahead and ask your question or make a comment, because we're here with family, okay? Now, going back to a man or a woman, you have a spirit, you have a soul, you have a body. Your spirit, does the man have the spirit of Christ in him, or does the woman have the spirit of Christ in her? There's a possibility, you Christian brother, you Christian sister, you get with a person, and you know, a lot of us don't even think about it, because I know I wasn't thinking about it when I was going out wilding out. There's a possibility, my brother and sister, that you may be, brother, you may deal with a woman that have a demon in her. Sister, you may be dealing with a man that got a demon in him. So it's a spiritual thing. First of all, okay? It's a spiritual thing. Now, just think about it. Brother and sister, you got the spirit of Christ, and you copulate with a man or woman that doesn't have the spirit of Christ. Just picture that in your mind. You, brother, and you, sister, you putting the Lord into that stuff, because you see, when the Lord is in your body, if you're saved, wherever you go, you take the Lord with you. Whether you marry or not, the Lord is not coming out of your body. But you put the Lord in a situation where you mingling with a man or woman that have the spirit of the adversary in it, and that's nasty. Just like Paul made a statement in the book or in the Bible. Paul made a statement. He basically said that your body is a temple. So, brother and sister, your body is the temple of the Lord. And he made an analogy. He said, what if I get with a prostitute, we are one. You understand? So Paul was saying, if I get with a prostitute, we are one. Because when a man and a woman have sex, you are one, my brother and sister, whether you marry or not. You got to understand it, my brother and sister. When you have sex with someone with prophylaxis on, or whether it's whether you have a rubber on or you don't, once a man penis enter into a woman vagina, and a woman vagina circulate and tighten up on a man penis, you are one. You are one. No matter, listen to them, my brother and sister, everybody that you have been in bed with, or however you did it, you became one with them. That's right. Every person in your past, you have became one with them. You may not feel it, you may not think it, but you won, because it's deep, my brother and sister. Unless you've been saved by the Lord Jesus and he cleansed all your sins away. If you're not saved, that stuff's still in you. And then we get to the soul part of it. Your mind, your will, and your emotions. Now, the saying is, men can have sex and it really don't mean too much to them. And women, they supposedly get all emotional entangled when they have sex, okay? Now, let me tell you this. A lot of time when men have sex with women, a lot of time it be in a man's mind, it's purely physical. So some of you sisters, you need to understand this. Most of the time when a man have sex with you, it's basically physical, because men are visual. You understand? Men are visual. And that's why a lot of you sisters, when you find out that a man had sex with another woman, now some of you sisters, you may have been in a relationship with a man, married, and then he stepped out of the marriage and had sex with a woman that really don't look that appealing. A lot of you sisters, you say, well, she didn't look that good. You look in the mirror and say, she don't look better than me. I got more things. I look better than her. I got a master's degree. I'm the CEO of a company. I'm doing this and that. And look at her. She ain't got nothing. She does have something. She got something that you have down there in your trousers. So what a lot of you sisters do not understand is a lot of time men do not look at a woman's face and everything to decide whether or not he's going to have sex with her. A lot of time men just focus on what she got between her legs. That's what you sisters need to understand. So that's why a lot of time men could have sex with a woman and he really don't have to know her name that well. I'm just being truthful with you. Most men, from out of 10 men, and I'm being generous, out of 10 men, maybe 8 don't really have to know that much about the woman. Now, the other 2, they may want to know a little about it, maybe what your name is. But a lot of men, they don't care too much about a woman. Like a lot of men go to clubs and everything, and a man, a lot of time when men go to clubs or wherever where women at, a lot of time they be thinking about a hookup, a one-night hookup, which could last that one night. It could last days after that, weeks, months, and years. And that's all it is, quote unquote, to a man. He just wants to release his quote unquote tension or his liquids. Whereas a lot of women, they like to hear things. Now, women, a lot of times they look at a man. Now, some women got eyes too, they could see. But what really get a lot of women? What really get a lot of women is that man talk game. That's right. A man, he might not even be that attractive. But if he have a talk game, or if he have asset, money, power, position, and stuff, that can trump how a man look. And then some of you guys, you look at a woman and say, what does she see in him? He's short, he got 3 stomachs and all that. And look at her, she pretty, she a queen, she looked like she Miss Universe. How can she get that man? Because he got other things from a world standpoint that trumps how he looked. He got quote unquote what appears to be power. He got quote unquote money. He got quote unquote other things that compensate for how he looked. So, and then he probably got a good talk game. Or there are some men that don't have nothing to their name, but they look good. They have they 6 feet tall. They got abs. They got quote unquote nice hair. They smell good and all that, but they don't even have a pot to urinate in. And a woman, sometimes, if he got a good talk game, they do it. And you see, the thing about it is this. You got to understand, we talk about the soul, we talk about the mind, the will, and the emotions. Women in general, not all the time, but women in general get more soul tied, not soul mate, to the man. Be more emotional into the man after sex. And the man normally come a little afterwards, okay? Because men try to put it in a different department. We just having sex and that's it. Well, a lot of times a woman could look at, okay, we just having sex, right? We just having sex, and she get hooked. Now, the oral part of it, let me tell you something, brother and sister, when it comes to the oral part of sex, what do you think the penetration of a penis into the vagina, that's one thing, but it's still a part of the sexual act. But the oral sex, that's another thing too. Now, what is oral sex? It is defined as sexual activity involved the stimulation of the genitalia of a person by another using the mouth, which includes the lips, the tongue, the teeth, and the throat. You understand? So some people, they look at it like this. I may not have oral sex, but I could have sex with him or her. I don't know where his or her mouth been at. That's what some people say. I don't know where his or her mouth been at. But yet, you don't know where that man penis been at, sister. And brother, you don't want to know where that woman vagina been at, and you all hung up on where their mouth been at. But yet, you're not too concerned with the genitalia part matching up, right? But it's this thing about the mouth. It's still a part of sex. Now, when it comes to the oral part of sex, my brother and sister, I know you all wanted the answer to that question. Now, is it right or wrong for a man or woman to have oral sex? From God's point of view, listen to me carefully. From God's point of view, marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled. Going back to 1 Corinthians 7, chapter 2 through 5, it states that the husband should fulfill, listen to this, the husband should fulfill the wife's sexual need, and the wife should fulfill her husband's need. The wife give authority over her body to her husband. So when you say I do, sister, you giving your body to your husband. It's not yours anymore. It's your husband's body. And brother, the same thing. You give authority of your body over to your wife. And then it said, do not deprive each other of sexual relations unless you both agree to refrain from sex, intimacy for a limited time so you can give yourself over more completely to prayer. Afterwards, you should come together so that Satan would not be able to tempt you because of lack of control. Now, in that, it says a husband should fulfill his wife's sexual needs. Now, what status? Did I say a boyfriend or a girlfriend? No, I didn't say a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Did I say a man and a woman that live together? No, I didn't say a man and woman to live together. Did I say a booed up relationship? No, I didn't. Did I say a 12 a.m. rolling through the night? They called the text and said, what you doing? Do you mind not coming through? No, it's not none of that. It is a man and a woman position that they are married. Now, if a man and woman is married, I'm going to go to this other part before I know you all want to hear me say yes or no. Now, this other part in Proverbs 5:18, it said, let her be the loving hind and pleasure roll. Let her breast satisfy thee at all time, and be thou ravished also always with her in love. Now, it's talking about the breast, right? Now, when people think about sex, they think about the penis and the vagina coming together. Most of the time, when it comes to the breast, what does a man do? He touching them with his hand, and he put his mouth on the woman's breast and on her nipples, right? So what he's doing, he is ravished in love with her. What position that he needs to be in? He needs to be married to her. Okay, so now he's kissing and touching on her breast. That's part of the body. That's his body. His wife, everything on that woman, that's his body. And everything on that man is her body. You got to understand that, my brother and sister. Once you say I do, you all are one. So if the wife, and let me tell you something, some of you wives, you want to go to your preacher. You want to go to your preacher and ask your preacher, is it okay if my husband and I, if we have oral sex, my question to some of you sisters, why are you going to your preacher asking him, is it okay with you and your husband to have oral sex? Do you view your preacher as an official? Question, do you think oral sex is nasty? For one thing, let's talk about that. Do you think oral sex is nasty? If you think oral sex is nasty and you are married, so that means that when you brother and you sister are, when a man is placing his penis in the woman's vagina and the woman is surrounding his penis, is that nasty? I want to know that. Is that nasty? You don't view that as nasty, do you? You don't do it. But what type of position are you in? Are you married or are you not? Now, if you're married, it's nothing evil, it's nothing nasty about the sexual act itself at all. So why go to your preacher asking him, can you do certain things in the bed, sister, with your husband? And then some of you guys, you got hang up too. So, brother, is there certain parts of your wife's body that nasty? Let's answer that question. Is there certain parts of your wife's body that you consider nasty? Sister, is there anything on your husband's body that you find nasty? Casper, on that. Casper, how you doing? Welcome to the dinner table. Glad I caught this dinner because I've always heard a preacher say this. I've been confused ever since. Now, let me tell you this. Thank you, brothers and sisters. We had a good dinner table tonight. We got some good dinner. Let me tell you this, brother. Listen to me. Whatever it takes to please your wife, not your girlfriend, not your live-in, not your boo, not that 12 o'clock run. Whatever it takes to please your wife, you need to do it. Vice versa. Sisters, whatever it takes to please your husband, you need to do it. I'm going to go back to 1 Corinthians chapter 7, 2 through 5. It said, the husband should fulfill. It used the word fulfill his wife's sexual needs. And the wife should fulfill her husband's needs. It said fulfill. So, sister, let me just be practical. Let me just be practical and let me be serious. Most of you married men and sisters, I'm talking to you Christian men and sisters. A lot of you Christian men and sisters, you were doing that before you said I do. A lot of you brothers and a lot of you sisters, because most men and women that are married, and I'm talking about the Western world, I'm talking about United States. Most men and women that are married, listen to me, my brother and sister. Most men and women are married. Most of you have had sex before you said I do. Most men and women, you said, and you had sex and you did not have a rubber in the equation. Most men and women, they don't use rubbers, whether they married or not. Even when men and women, they hook up, most men and women don't use contraceptives. But they would tell their children, you better wear the contraceptive because you don't want no children, do you? You don't want no disease. But grown people, a lot of grown people, you look at a man, sister, or brother, you look at a woman, and in your mind, she look clean. Or he look clean. I'm an adult male. She's an adult female. We consenting. And most men and women do not use the prophylactic or the rubber. Most men and women, they do this thing rawly. And you all know I'm telling the truth. Most men and women do. But It depends on your position when it comes to sex. When it comes to sex, my brother, if your woman wants you to have oral sex with her, you need to handle business. Sister, if your man, your husband, wants you to have oral sex with him, you need to handle business. Some of you did it before you got married. Then when you got married, you really didn't like doing it when you were not married, right? But when you got married, now you want to pull back. That's how I hear that quite a bit, my brother and sister. A man and woman, before they got married, they were doing all that kind of wild stuff. They were doing double monkey back flips. They were doing all kinds of stuff. But when you got married, those things that you really didn't want to do, my question to you, why you did it before you got married? That man or woman that you got married to, you were doing the oral stuff with them before you got married. You weren't supposed to be doing it anyway. As a matter of fact, you weren't supposed to be having sex anyway, but you were doing all that stuff. Now you got married. Now you want to pull back. Now the question comes to, now this is a question. What if the husband wants to do it? Now, what if the husband wants his wife to do it to him? And I heard this part a lot. I have heard that I heard both ways. I have heard that some men, they wife want them to have oral sex with them, but the wife, and she'll let him do it, but she don't want to have oral sex with her husband. Y'all ain't heard stuff like that before. The husband will give oral sex to his wife because it turns her on, but she don't want to reciprocate it to her husband. And then there are some men, they want the wife to have oral sex with them, but they frown all up when she want him to have oral sex with her. That's how they do it. So brother and sister, you need to have that talk. How you doing, Sister Flo? Welcome to the dinner table. You need to have that talk before you get married, brothers. Before you get married, I said there's 4 things that you need to discuss before you get married, and I call them forms. That's FORMS, forms. Just like it's an interview. On the interview, you need to talk about F, family. You need to talk about O, occupation. You need to talk about R, religion. You need to talk about M, money. You need to talk about S, sex. FORMS, form. That's the discussion that you need to have before you get married. Sex is the one of those letters that you need to discuss. You don't want to go into no marriage with with a lot of assumptions. You need to put that thing out there. So, brother, if you know you have you foresee you're gonna have a desire to do that with your wife, you need to your potential wife, you need to talk to her about it. And sister, the same thing. If you have a desire and you're about to get married, you need to talk to your potential husband about it. Gonna tell you what's gonna happen. If a man is deprived from that, he may in his mind have a good wife and she does everything else, but he wants oral sex. And then there's a woman that she got a good husband and he doing everything else, but she want oral sex. And especially if they were doing that kind of stuff before they got married, which they weren't supposed to be doing anyway. But now you're married, now you're pulling back. And what does 1 Corinthians 7, chapter 2 through 5 say? It said the husband should fulfill his wife's sexual need, and the wife should fulfill her husband's needs. So you need to have that conversation. Now, for those of you husband and wife, I'm talking to you husband and wives, and I'm talking to those of you that are going to get engaged and get married. Listen up. Brother, if you If you want your wife to do that to you, and she want that done to her, you can't have it both ways. You can't want her to do you and you don't do her. And then some of you sisters, you can't expect for your husband to do you and you don't want to do him. Because if you don't, sister, if you don't do it, your husband may go outside the house just for another woman. And I'm just being realistic. He might just go outside of his house just to have another woman to have oral sex on him. And some of you sisters, you need to understand, and some of you brothers, you need to understand this. Your woman, she may go outside the house just for another man to have oral sex on her, but that's going to lead to something. You know what it's going to lead to? Let me tell you what it's going to lead to. If a married man go outside the house and let a woman perform oral sex on him, and if a woman go outside the house and let a man have oral sex on her, and we talk about a married man or a married woman, you know what's going to eventually happen? It don't stop at the oral sex. Then it comes to the genital part. It happens when a man, the husband, insert his penis into another woman, or a wife allow another man to insert his penis into her. So whatever you all heard, it a lot of time it goes beyond the oral sex when they're stepping out. Then you're going to have a problem. So is it right or is it wrong for a man and woman to have oral sex? Any sex that is not, if the man and the woman is not married, everything is off limit up under the category of sex. But if that man and woman is married, that man, the husband, got to fulfill all his wife's sexual needs, and that wife has to fulfill all her husband's sexual needs. Because if you don't, the devil knows that you got a hunger, brother. The devil knows that you got a hunger, sister. Let me tell you this, sister. If you don't do that with your husband, and it's not no ultimatum thing. If you don't do that with your husband and you know he have a desire for it, Satan gonna be watching you. Satan know one of his daughters will perform oral sex on your husband. And likewise, brothers, Satan know that your wife may want you to have oral sex with her, but you don't want to do it because you think it's nasty and you frying it all up. You weren't frying it all up when she was doing you, but now you want to fry it all up when you get down there where she at. So he is a man that want to do it. And let me tell you something, brothers. You brothers, you need to listen up to it. Those of you that got wives, don't you know a lot of men would approach your wife, brother, and they tell her something like, I just want to taste you and stuff like that. Are you aware of that, brother? A lot of men, they will approach, but you see what they really want to do, they want to have genital to genital sex with your wife. That's what they really want to do, but they're going to camouflage it, and they want to see, can they tase your wife? Because they know if they could tase your wife, more than likely she'll let him do the other part. That's what a lot of men be approaching your wives with, brothers. So you need to understand that. So my answer to that is it right or wrong for a man or woman to have oral sex? If you're not married, no. If you are married, it's a green light. But you brothers and sisters, you need to discuss that stuff. You need to discuss it before you say I do. I hope you brothers and sisters got something out of this content tonight at the dinner table. I know this could be very controversial, but hey, the husband should fulfill his wife's needs. The wife should fulfill her husband's need. The wife give authority over her body to her husband, and the husband give authority over his body to his wife. Brothers and sisters, if you have any question or comment, put the word wait down there. I'll wait till you formulate your question or your comment, or you could get a carrot plate, put it in the refrigerator and warm it up later on, meaning you could look at this show again, or encourage your family friend to check this out, because this is something that's need to be addressed. Sister Cheryl Ferguson said, wait, what about all that freaky stuff? Okay, Sister Cheryl Ferguson, you said, what about all that freaky stuff? What freaky stuff were you referring to, sister? Let's talk about it. What freaky stuff are you talking about? Just let me know what freaky stuff so we can address this tonight. There are things that God say no to. What God said no to? What part we talking about? Okay, in the book of Leviticus 11, in Leviticus 11, it talk about sex, right? In the book sodomy. All right, sodomy. Okay, sodomy, that goes with the book, that goes with that go all the way back to Sodom and Gomorrah, that sodomy stuff. Okay, I understand. And then it got anal sex, sodomy and anal sex. If you are not married, you see, if you're not married, you don't supposed to be doing no type of sex, none whatsoever. But if you are married, that's the key thing. If you are married, that's a different thing. And Casper that said, preacher said, oral sex is a form of icy worship. Is it true? I just don't want to go to hell. If you have any type of sex, brothers and sisters, if you have any type of sex outside of marriage, it's wrong. It's wrong. And let me go back to this, my brother. So let me tell you this. There's this part in Proverbs 5:18 where it say, let her breast satisfy thee at all times. What do men do with what does a husband do with a woman breast, his wide breast? What does he do with his wide breast? He touches wide breast and he put it, and more than likely he's gonna be putting mouth on his wide breast, right? Is there anything wrong with him? Okay, are we talking about sex is only for just the penis going into the vagina and nothing else going on? Are we talking about that? The key thing is if the man and woman is married. Sister Cheryl Ferguson said, I am so not interested in doing that with my husband or anyone. I'm talking about within the marriage, I do things God way. Okay, sister, if Sister Ferguson, are you married? Are you married, Sister Ferguson? Divorce. Okay, you divorced. All right. If you get married again, Sister Ferguson, you say, I'm not interested in doing that with a husband or anyone else. Okay. If you get married again, Sister Ferguson, you need to let that potential husband know that's one thing that you're not interested in. You need to tell him, because he may like that kind of stuff. He may like it. So you need to talk to him about it, because if you don't talk to him about it and you get married, he may feel like he's lacking something. And you don't want him to be ignorant. When I say ignorant, I'm talking about lack of knowledge of that's something that he wants to do. And if you don't do it, Sister Ferguson, Satan knows that he like it. So if Satan knows that he like it and you're not going to do it, he may stay with you. He may do everything that a husband's supposed to do, but he may go outside of your house just to get that done and come back home. So you need to discuss it. The sex is, like I said, when it comes to a relationship, my brother and sister, you need to discuss those 5 letters: family, occupation, religion, money, sex. Those 5 key things in relationship that need to be discussed before you say I do. Sister Cheryl said these are conversations that needs to be had before marriage. Amen, sister. They do, sister, brother. I'm telling you, these are some explosive things that could cause you to go get a divorce, and it can cause a whole bunch of what people call quote unquote infidelity or adultery. So you need to get this stuff done. I mean, you need to talk to your mate, because if you don't, it ain't like when you get married, it ain't about no Cracker Jack. You get a surprise when you open the box. You don't supposed to be no surprise. You have to have that adult conversation, brothers. You have to have that adult conversation, my sister. But let me tell you, sodomy, we're going to go back to sodomy. That was associated back with Sodom and Gomorrah. Those people were very evil. They went after flesh, after flesh, after flesh. As a matter of fact, Lot had 2 angels that was in men form. The men came to Lot's house, knocked on the door. They didn't want no woman. They wanted those men, but they didn't know they was angels in men's bodies, right? They didn't know it. They said they want to know those men. They didn't want to just have no conversation with those angels. They wanted to have sex. Lot said, I got my daughters. They didn't want Lot's daughters. They wanted those men. Anything outside of a man and woman being married is off limits. There's don't supposed to be no sexual nothing before you get married. And going back to that question about kissing again, the dangerous part about kissing is this. When you start kissing and you isolate it, that's when, because more than likely before you kiss, let's be real, brother and sister, before you even kiss, that probably came over the man's mind. That probably had came over the woman's mind. You get in an isolated place, then you may want to kiss like, but we know that tongue gonna get involved. Then you have a man sticking his tongue all in the woman's mouth. She got her tongue all in his mouth, and then it get heated. They start breathing hard. Then they start following each other. The man start getting erected. The woman start getting lubricated and all that kind of stuff. It happens off, like I said, it's just like a key in a car. But we got these little things now. It's still like if you match the ignition, match the little key thing, the car turn on, right? Or if you got one of those cars that you stick the key in and do that, what happened? It turns it on. So if you stick your tongue in somebody's mouth, it's going to probably turn them on. So my thing to you, my brother, sister, if I were you, I wouldn't even kiss, especially in no isolated place, because it's gonna get hot. And let me tell you this, my brother and sister, son, and this is a game that grown people play too. Grown people play this thing. Okay, you can spend the night over my house, but we ain't gonna do nothing. Yeah, some of y'all know about that. We ain't gonna do nothing now. Then the man say, okay, we ain't got to do nothing. If the woman come over to his house, I'll let you sleep in my bed and I'll sleep on the sofa. I'm gonna play it from both parts. Or I sleep on the sofa, you can sleep in my bed. Or my bed big enough and I sleep on one side and you sleep on another side. Yeah, right. And then the woman, she let the man spend the night over her house. We talk about unmarried people. She said, okay, you can spend the night, but you got to sleep on the sofa. And he said, okay. Then she go in her room and he sleep on the sofa, and both of them just by each other present. He over her house, she in the bedroom with a pillow between her leg or one of those little toys, and he in the room. Sister Cheryl said that's a Jedi mind trick. Yeah, that's right, Sister Cheryl. And he in there charging himself up. And then the next thing you know, if the man over the woman high, he already on the sofa, and she in the her bed. Then the next thing you know, she getting up and she'll come in there where he at. She say, "You could come and get in the bed with me, but nothing ain't gonna happen now. You keep that in mind. Nothing gonna happen." Sister, yeah, right. Nothing ain't gonna happen. You told this man to sleep on your sofa. Do you think he gonna actually say, "Okay, now I'm gonna sleep on the sofa"? Majority of the time, 10 out of 9 men, 9.8% of men gonna take you on that offer. They're gonna come to your room, and this is what's gonna happen. This is going on. He gonna get in your bed. Then y'all gonna call y'all self cuddling, right? You're gonna start cuddling, right? And when you start cuddling, you're gonna find out that that man is getting aroused. And you sister know what I'm talking about. Y'all gonna be spooning. You're gonna be spooning. And when y'all spooning, sister, you're gonna feel something, some type of reaction on your rear end. And you know what that means. Then he start kissing you on your neck and all that kind of stuff. And then you start getting all agitated. And the next thing you know, there go that kiss. And then the next thing you know, there go the funneling. And then the next thing you know, whoop, there it is. You brother and sister, I hope that you all enjoyed this conversation that we had at the dinner table. I love you, brother, and I love you, sister. You all have a good night. Peace out.